I've voted a few times in my life, Michael. I don't think I'm dumb, but I don't necessarily understand politics the way you guys do. But I do think when people go behind that curtain and check the box, a lot of times that's the name that they recognize the most and obviously feel comfortable with.
Right.
So how do you feel about your standing there going into this? I mean, I think you've done a pretty good job.
Well, I'm very confident in what I've done. I'm pleased and I'm proud of the achievements we've done. And, there's always work to do. And I don't mean to be in light of that, but I do think I've done a good thing. You got the stadium that was built, wastewater treatment plant, lots of infrastructure that's been done for our city, International Trade Center, just fixing roads and streets, being part of a much larger community in Canada to represent our city across the country is really important. So I've done it as best I could, and my record's out there, and people can judge.
What are the challenges that go with being the mayor of a major Canadian city? I've never asked you that before, but I'd like to know.
The challenges are to, firstly, to ensure that our voice is heard. And so I have a very strong relationship with the province and the federal government because we deal directly with them on funding to make sure that we get our piece of the pie, we get our investment in the city. And it's representing people, ensuring that we respond to growth. We have growth happening in our city. We have a good economic environment to grow. But also our sport and culture has got to be there as well. Very proud to have the stadium built, the best stadium in Canada, as far as I can see. And when we get through the pandemic and the CFL's back, we get the CFL here, we get more events happening here, more trade shows, more tourism here as well.
I can see this interview will probably go longer than some of the others I've done. For instance, Jeff writes in from Calgary. He's a Stampeders fan. And he says, ask him if he likes Nenshi. Your counterpart from Calgary. That'd be an interesting question. You don't mind if we take it?
It's absolutely fine. I know Mayor Nenshi very well. He's a good guy. He's very passionate, and he's got his opinions.
Right.
He does.
Well, your political opinions don't really mesh with his. Would I be right?
Well, I would say that on the spectrum, he's to the left of where I'm at.
Yeah.
But he's very effective as the mayor of Calgary, no question about that. He's done a good job.
I can't argue with that. I was having supper the other night at Bushwhackers, I don't mind saying, with my friend. He's probably watching the show right now, and he goes, who wants to be a leader right now? Who would want it? Everybody's getting criticized, and because I consider you a personal friend, I've been watching what you've been doing through all of this, and you just never seem rattled. You've always taken the rational approach. But what has it been like, given the fact that there's no handbook?
Okay, look, so I may look like I'm sort of calm and everything else, but I'm a very passionate person about our city.
I know that.
And I took this job because I asked for support 8 years ago to continue to grow our city and do some fantastic things for our city. I feel exactly the same way today. So for me, it's not a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. There are pressured moments, no question about that. Dealing with the pandemic and how we're dealing with that individually and collectively as a city and how we get through that process is a lot of work. But I'm really happy to be doing it, and I hope I can continue to do it.
So what are the kind of comments you've got from people? Because we do have low cases. The economy, to a certain extent, is as good as it could be. I mean, my friends aren't playing, right? Sports has been ravaged. And you must be hearing from that community. But from the average citizen, what are you hearing about the way it's been handled in the city?
I think for the most part, people are pleased. They're happy that the numbers are down for cases of COVID. And what the province has been doing with the chief medical officer and how we've been handling as a city, I think is generally pretty good. But I think there's a bit of sense of frustration over the summer where the restrictions are keeping people from getting with all their friends. But they also understand that, we have to take care of ourselves and our neighbors. And so I'm very proud of what residents have done. They've kept the numbers down, and it's good news. Yeah,
they've been good, very responsible.
Yes.
Unlike NFL teams like the Tennessee Titans that are in trouble today. Nelson writes in with a question. He says, is an LRT/train system a part of the city's transit master plan?
It is not yet because we don't have the population for that. Now, if we had a regional one where we went to White City and Emerald Park, you could talk about that in the future. But right now, it's not in the cards because of the funding level we need, and the population just isn't quite there yet.
Do you find that public transit is serving people's needs?
I think it's doing better than it was before, but it can always be better. We need a hub downtown to get people to attract them back downtown. But generally, it's okay. But ridership is up. The pandemic notwithstanding, we've seen ridership go up every year for a number of years. So it'll get better, and we are investing in making it better.
Did you have anything to do with? Somebody asked me a while back to mention this on the air, and I'm not sure if I did or not. But it was that Uber's now available in the RMs of Edenwald and west of the city. And it was sort of like, hey, for rider games, here's another option for you because the city transit doesn't go out there. Does that fall under your portfolio?
Not really. I mean, Uber is in the city, yes, and in the extent it is in with our geography area, yes, it's us. But when it goes outside the city, not so much. But Uber sees a market, and there clearly is a market for them to do what they need to do. And part of this is for people who are partying a bit too much and want to ride home.
How have you found the addition of what do you call it, ride sharing?
Ride sharing.
How have you found that's been for the city?
I think it's good, and I think it actually makes taxis better too. They've got to respond to that. That's a competitive marketplace, and in order to keep the market, they've got to adapt. And taxis have done that, so it's working well.
Last Friday, Jerry Flegel came in here and announced his news about the new entertainment facility, year-round multi-purpose facility, if elected, majority privately funded. What's your take on that announcement by him and platform?
Well, I think that he has a lot of passion for sports, as I do as well. I think that the question to be answered is how is it going to be funded, and if it's funded by public purse, which is typically what happens in a arena or a stadium. We have a new stadium right now, and we have public debt on that too. Can we afford to actually do that right now? If it's led by the private sector, it's funded by the private sector, let's have that conversation. But I'm worried about public exposure for tax money. That's my concern.
And that was my question to Jerry. I mean, as a sports guy, why wouldn't I want that? But I also understand where we are at trying to pay off Mosaic Stadium in the climate that we're in. So I just wondered where you stood on that.
And again, on concept is good, but how do we pay for it? We have a lot of other priorities in the city we need to fund as well through infrastructure that are really critical for us. Maybe not as glamorous, but there are other activities we can have downtown in the reality yards, and maybe not in an arena. It could happen, but I want to see the private sector step up and do that.
Yeah. Anything else for you before I have a personal question? That isn't hard, trust me. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I'm fine. I just whatever you throw at me, it's good.
Well, I just loved that fundraiser we were at a couple of weeks ago for the Caring Place. And remember, I said to you, Michael, you don't look as frazzled as I would expect. And you said playing in this band really helps with your stress.
It does.
And now you know what I'm doing in the recovery world. I'm learning a lot from Rand. I think he's learning a lot from me. And he's taught me how pets can help with lowering stress. I'm not a pet guy, but now I've understood why. And then with music, I got thinking about it because I grew up playing the guitar. You got to keep your mind on the beat. You got to keep your mind on what you're doing. You can't worry about all the other extraneous things. So the band is the Garage Band, and Murad El-Khatib, which incidentally, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Murad. And John Hopkins, president of Regina Chamber of Commerce, and a bunch of other guys. You crushed it that night. How much do you love being part of that band?
It is really exciting because I've never played in a band. This is my first time playing in a band. Come on! It's been about a year and a half. And I played drums before that, of course, but just privately. So for me, it's a great challenge, a stretch. But the physicality of it, the pounding of the drums is a good stress release.
Yep.
And you're playing with a bunch of guys who are incredible musicians, and you just play along, and it's fun. I just find it such a stress release.
Wasn't that a good night?
Oh, yeah, it was great. It was great. You did a great job. Thanks for doing that, by the way.
Everything was great. I'll just put the plug in now for Caring Place, a place that offers free mental health and addictions counseling.
Yes.
So if there was ever a need for that. So I'll just say it, I get it. You can't be thinking of something else when you're trying to play the beat to a song. You can't. It's impossible.
It just clears your mind. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, good for you. And I hope it continues. And Michael, thanks so much and good luck here in next month.
Thank you very much.
Mayor of Regina, Michael Fougere, with us. Dupes joins us next for Overtime. We'll be right back. It's the RP Show, Game Plus TV Network, Facebook Live, and listen live at rodpeterson.com.
You're watching Rod Peterson On Demand. For more of The Rod Peterson Show, visit rodpeterson.com or follow Rod Peterson on social media.